Welcome, everybody, to the American Space Museum. I'm Mark Marquette. We're so glad you're with us to stay curious today, broadcasting from the studios in our beautiful museum in downtown Titusville. We're just 10 miles away across the Indian River, where the Kennedy Space Center and Cape Canaveral Space Force launch pads are. And we've got two launches to launch off those pads today. And we're also going to talk about the Axiom 4 launch of Peggy Whitson on her fifth flight with the most experienced female astronaut ever, of course, and three rookies. And we have had a busy time here at the American Space Museum with ESA representatives, mostly thanks to Alex Carl, our ESA Eurocom and friend, who's been sending his buddies in here. So I want to say hi to Marty Winkle doing the Streamlabs board today. Hi, Marty. How's everything over there in that UCAC family microphone situation?
Everything here is just great.
Good, good. Well, we're going to have a good show today. We've been having some great guests, some impromptu. Yesterday was kind of a off-the-cuff type of show. Y'all enjoyed it. Thank you very much. If you've got some questions throughout today's show, please let me know. Today, June 5th, 2025, we first have some sad news to talk about as the the space astronaut world yesterday was rocked at about 6 o'clock last night when it was announced that Canada's first astronaut, Mark Garneau, had died after a brief illness at age 76. And he had three wonderful shuttle missions, 29 days orbiting the Earth, and STS 77, 97. His first one was 41G. When he was not a NASA astronaut, he actually became part of the Hogs, I think, the astronaut group. But he orbited the Earth on 41G with Kathy Sullivan and Sally Ride. Had to have been an amazing career for this gentleman who become involved in Canadian politics and actually was the Foreign Affairs Minister for Canada, a long illustrious career there that he stepped down just last year. We think, the only handprints of Mark Garneau in bronze, of course. These were harvested by Charlie Mars in 2011, and at one of the malls here when he was in town for one of the last launches of a shuttle. And apparently a great guy. I've reached out to several astronauts I know who flew with him for any comments they might have, and if they have those, give me those, I'll pass them on. So a lot of astronauts I saw on Facebook giving their condolences and talking about how Mark Garneau influenced their lives. Of course, Canadian astronaut Chris Hadfield had a 30-year relationship, he said, with him and his mentor. And so we reach out to the whole Canadian people and his family, sending our condolences from the American Space Museum for this great space explorer and then a capable politician in the Canadian government. Mark Garneau gone at age 76. Well, we are poised, and just 10 miles from where Marty and I are sitting is a Falcon 9 rocket with a Crew Dragon spacecraft on it, the fifth Crew Dragon to be sent to space. This is a maiden flight. I don't think they've named it yet. Pretty sure they haven't until it gets to space. And it might be the last Crew Dragon, not the last flight of a Crew Dragon, but the last one built, as SpaceX's chief operating officer and president Elon Musk says that he wants to go to the Starship. And so he's got 5 reusable spacecraft Dragons in queue, and those will suffice until he gets that Starship perfected. But Peggy Whitson's the commander, and we've got 3 rookies on board. And let's look at their pictures here right now. This is the official patch. and there's Peggy, and you've got these names are very, very hard to pronounce. In fact, the guy on the right is the one that I can have the best stab at there. Where's my Axiom? There we are. That's Tibor Kapu. Okay. And next to him is ESA astronaut from Poland, Sławomir Wyszynski. And then beside him is Shabushu Shukla. And he is one of 4 Indian astronauts in training with the Indian government. They call them Vyumanauts, Vyumanauts, Vyumanauts. And he's not the first Indian who will go to space. That honor goes to Rakesh Sharma, who in 1984 spent about 10 days on the Soviet Salyut space station, taking a Soyuz spacecraft up and down on there. And there's Peggy. And Peggy is 65 years old. This will be her 5th space flight. And stay curious, because I'm going to tell you about her first space flight on this date, June 5th in 2002. So she is still active. She holds all the records for women in space, from extravehicular activities with 10, and accumulated days in space that's now at 675. And we'll be profiling Kathy here just a little bit as we go through our Stay Curious program today. And boy, we are just so blessed to catch the attention of a lot of space-loving, not just you geeky fans out there, but like Steve Jokums, I see you on there, and Mark Usiak, Mitch Rothman, Gary Gerald, and Tom Usiak there. We're also blessed with the ESA astronauts coming in here. And like I said earlier, to a large part due to our relationship with Alex Carl, who is a ESA Eurocom who talks to these astronauts. And even when there's not an ESA astronaut on the space station, ESA is very involved with doing the experiments, talking that ESA has up there that other astronauts from other countries are attending. And so just a great, we're going to look forward to this launch. It is now scheduled for 8:22 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time on Tuesday. And let me go to the next slide here and show you that we had the pleasure of seeing these 2 physicians. That is on the left is Claudia Korbald. She is a Austrian from Austria. These are both, she's a flight director. And Bimba Hoyer on the right is a physician. And both of them medically trained, I understand, talking to them. And they're taking care of the ESA astronaut before and after the flight. And they thoroughly enjoyed our museum. Thank you, Anita Truex, our office coordinator there, for taking a picture of them enjoying our shuttle console that was used on the 2 launches that we're going to talk about here briefly. And then later on, they texted another group of their ESA comrades, and in come 3 more enjoying the real Apollo console there. On the phone, that is Francisca Castanaga, and she is a, what's her title there? I taped her. She's a mission management specialist for ESA. She's talking to Alessandra Vacco, who is crew support, and that's Luca Anicello. And he is a training lead, a lead trainer for ESA astronauts, and he's going to be on the show tomorrow. And there's a much better picture I took of them. Left to right there is Francesca and Alessandra and Luca, with Barry Smith, our great Thursday docent. And Barry worked on the Hubble telescope and the Webb telescope, working for Goddard, and very involved with those payloads and so lots of other missions. So we're going to see Luca, the gentleman in the middle with the ESA t-shirt. He'll be on tomorrow. So if you've got questions about the European Space Agency, like I do, like, hey, what happened to uh, the lunar outpost? And I know the Halo habitat is built, and all kinds of elements are ready to ship to the America for launch on the Artemis program on the SLS. Well, I'm sure Luca will have some of those answers for us, but we're going to learn about his career a little bit and just more importantly, understand the cooperation internationally of countries on the International Space Station, not just the astronauts, but all the support people like these people. And yet, we're troubled here on Earth trying to get along. And so we're going to enjoy that conversation, and I can't wait. June 5th, ring any bells with anybody? June 5th, 2024. Why would I be thinking about that? Well, you remember Butch and Sonny? Yeah, you sure do. Here they are on their walkout. They were launched today on the ill-fated Boeing Starliner on June 5th, 2024. Boy, that year went by quick. Of course, they spent almost 9 months on an 8-day trip in space, and everything worked out okay for them, thank God. I've seen some pictures of Sunny. I think she was at the Boston Philharmonics. I believe I saw pictures of her at it. And so she's out there giving her story and talking about her experience on this mission that went longer than they anticipated because they could not safely fly back on the Starliner. It would have probably been safely had they tried it, but we enjoyed the rocket launch from picture that I took from Spaceview Park 9 miles away to a remote by Carlton Bailey, ACB. See if you're on there right now as I look through everybody enjoying us today. And another gorgeous shot by one of the remote cameras there. Hopefully that was one of Carlton's there. Mark Thale, you're on board. Jackie Murakami is disguised as Chris Callie. Hello, buddy. Dave Stange, glad to see you on board here as you all are chiming in on what's become a wonderful social time for us all here to share space history together. Robert Law's watching live tonight. He was at the space exhibit in London, he said. He's in Dundee, Scotland. Doug Forrest is in Los Angeles. And Jubilee says that the 10th Starship is ready to go. And hope you're having a good afternoon too, Tom Celentano, up there in Connecticut. And Elena is chiming in. So thank you all for enjoying Stay Curious. We've had some really strong numbers, definitely some newbies joining our social time here, and we're very grateful for that. So let's see, what have, oh yeah, one other launch here, one other launch picture of the Atlas V taking Sonny and Butch to space. Quite a launch and quite a story involved. They knew there was something wrong with the spacecraft when they launched it, and of course every NASA engineer and person that worked on everything from Apollo to Shuttles said they never would have okayed that launch. And and we've all know the drama of what went wrong with the thrusters. So hope Boeing gets it fixed and they can get their Starliner back into the queue to put Americans continuously in space. So, well, one thing that you know that we love is we're looking at the gorgeous International Space Station there in an artist concept of how it looks today. And we're going to be reminded of what it looked like in 2002, 23 years ago. All right, just a few years after it had been inhabited here on Stay Curious about that. Beautiful shuttles of June, 11 of them. The leader was Columbia, 4 flights for Columbia in June. And Challenger had 1, OV-103, Discovery had 2, Orbital Vehicle 104 had 2, and Endeavour had 2. 116 days with 68 crew members launched in the month of June, represented here. We have the first and last docking of Mir in June, okay? STS 71, where's that patch? STS 71, there at the bottom, it was launched on the 27th, and STS 91. I have these in chronological order. In 91, so I got them just opposite. 91, well, because of the date, it was launched on June 2nd. And let's see, 7 of the 11 shuttles had 7 crew members. Okay, 15 women went to space, including Ellen Baker and Bonnie Dunbar twice. And I didn't get a chance to talk to Bonnie Dunbar at the Astronaut Scholarship Foundation, and now I regret that I didn't. But sometimes you just don't approach them unless they kind of, you think that'd be all right. 22, that means in June has the highest percentage of women going to space, the men 22%. All right. And John Fabian also twice on there. STS 7 is, we'll talk about that later in the month. That, of course, is Sally Ride, initial space mission with Thagard and Fabian, who we see a lot out at the Space Center talking about what a wonderful woman she was and how she wouldn't appear anywhere without her crew, though the attention was on her even afterwards. And I love that patch, STS 7 right there, with the 7 made out of the robotic arm there of Canada's. So any other details? Let's see. 3 satellite deployments, 2 Mir missions, like I said, 2 hard hat missions. We're going to talk about one of those. And 4 labs went to space during June. So let's check them out here, Marty. I make this crazy chart that shows you the date on the bottom, the launch of the shuttles by date of the in order on the they're stacked up by the order that they were launched during the month. So 91 is the first one. On June 6th here, we've got 91, 40, and 111, all orbiting the Earth. Okay, but of course, a big span of what? 11 years in between the 3 missions there. And then you have some juxtapositions there on the 21st and 22nd. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 orbiters orbiting there at the same time. Looks like the 19th might include 1, 2, 3, 4 there. So fun to look at charts like this for me anyway, and I might do something with it and put it in a pamphlet one day. So just another graphic way to look at these beautiful shuttles every month. I like looking at them, and I hope you do too. Well, another thing that's a regular feature on our Stay Curious program in the month of shuttles is telling you a little bit about the art behind the patch. Sometimes, and I've used this book, wait, let me go back there, use this book exclusively, Mission Patch book. It's a good one, and a lot of our astronaut hounds out at the Space Center use this to fill it up with autographs from the astronauts to those missions. So today we're looking at a launch of STS-40 on June 5th, 1991. And we'll see that crew here in just a second. Let me go there, Marty, and make it big. There you go. Thank you, sir. The patch focuses on human beings living and working in space. Against the backdrop of the universe, each of the 7 crew members is represented by a silver star in the orbital path of Columbia. The flight path forms a double helix representing DNA molecules, common to all living creatures. It affirms the ceaseless expansion of human life and American involvement in space, and emphasizes the medical and biological studies to which this flight is dedicated. The phrase Space Lab Life Sciences 1 defines the mission and the payload. In the upper center is Leonardo da Vinci's Vitruvian Man. That's the guy with his arms spread out and legs spread out in a circle. With 1 foot on Earth and arms extended to touch Columbia's orbit, he represents the extension of human inquiry from the boundaries of Earth to the limitless laboratory of space. The Vitruvian Man links scientists on Earth to scientists in space. In the center of the patch is a red and yellow Earth limb, linking Earth to space and radiating from a Native American symbol for the sun, which links America's past and future. See that little yellow up there? Classic Hispanic sun. Beneath Columbia, the darkness of the night rests peacefully over the U.S. The patch was created by artist Sean Collins, and that's sometimes unusual because usually, probably with input from the crew, that is one of the exercises I'm told that a commander will do. And this was Brian O'Connor's command, and Sid Gutierrez was the pilot. And Sid later became a pilot or commander right after this. And this is the first mission to have 3 women on board. And there they are in the middle. You have got in the back with the long hair is Tammy Jernigan. And Millie Hughes Fulford is on the left. She passed away, unfortunately, a few years ago. And there's Rhea Seddon sitting there, married to Hoot Gibson, of course. I'll update you here on their missions. Let's see here, get my notes. I'm curious how many missions that is for Rhea. Her second of 3 missions. This was Brian O'Connor's first command and his last. He was a pilot and then a commander. Usually they're a pilot twice and then a commander, but that can also be with the backlog of missions and so forth. Sid Gutierrez is, of course, Via Space's chairman of the board, called Via Space because the launch director of this mission, Bob Seek, when it wasn't on this mission, it was on Sid's command. He said Via Candias to him, Godspeed in Hispanic. James Bagnigan is on the right-hand side there. This was his second and last flight. Drew Gaffney, and this was Millie Hughes' only flight. Drew Gaffney's on the far left, seated down next to Millie, and they were one and done. Tammy Jernigan, this was his first of 5 missions. Okay. So that's always awesome just to think, God, 5 times she got on that shuttle and just was blasted away. Well, there's the gag picture that they do. Because this was the first serious space lab in the shuttle era here in 1991, they copied a MASH platoon. And of course, MASH being a popular sitcom, probably in reruns in 1991, but nonetheless one of the most popular TV shows of all time. There's their 40 STS MASH unit. Quite a production to put all that together, I'll tell you. I'm looking to see Sid's got the Panama hat on. I'm looking where Rhea Seddon. Where's she at? She's in the back, and they're working on Brian O'Connor there, the commander, on there. So they always do the formal picture, and then they might do a military picture. The formal picture being in their spacesuits, the pumpkin suit shot. Then they'll do maybe their military and civilian clothes together. Then they'll do maybe this gag shot. Before the gag shot, they'll have the families come in and sit in. Also, I've seen pictures like that. So sometimes they bring their dogs in, like Leland Melvin did with his Ridgeback, Rhodesian Ridgeback dogs. So we love celebrating the shuttle era any way we can. This was the 5th dedicated Space Lab mission, and one of the rarest pictures you'll see there up on the 195th level, where the crew hatch was on the shuttle. There you see three of the ladies, and who is that? Brian in the back, cooling off. Okay, you see they got their necks open like that because they have an air dam around their neck. I think it's kind of a rubbery like material that would kind of feel like choking me, but they hold it around their neck to keep the pressure inside the pumpkin suit there. Pumpkin suit's not designed to keep you alive in the elements of outer space, but inside the cabin should something go wrong and supply you with much needed air until they could get the shuttle landed safely and across Saragossa, Banjul, Morocco, Spain, other areas over in the Atlantic. So a very rare picture there. Everybody holding up their neck dams there to cool off. There is the space lab in the payload bay, the space shuttle processing facility. Space lab is the longer version. The space hab is a shorter, stubbier version of this. And there they are inside of it. Boy, there's a lot of science going on there. Everybody's just focused on what they've been training for 2 or 3 years to do. Finally, they're doing it in space. Don't bother me. I'm about to push the button for this electromagnetic experiment, or I'm doing a fluid dynamic experiment. And then they studied 6 body systems, 18 investigations, 10 involved humans, 7 rodents, and 1 jellyfish. So they studied the heart, lungs, and blood vessels, the kidneys, blood plasma, checked out white blood cells for your immune system. Bones and the muscles were checked out, and the brain, nerves, eyes, and inner ear. Quite a doctor checkup there where the astronauts actually became the guinea pigs themselves. So it was a great mission. A little over 9 days in space, returning at Edwards Air Force Base on June 14th. And like I said, with 3 rookies, and also the first mission with 3 women. And I can't think of when 3 women were done there. Someone's asking me who's the first Hispanic to fly to space, and I believe it is Sid Gutierrez there. Joe Acaba is the only Puerto Rican. You're right. Hello, Cliffy Watson. How's Friday there, baby? In Pomona, Australia. He's already TGIF in it, and we're here Thursday in it here in America. But Franklin Chang Diaz, an astronaut, and of course, he has some Asian descent in him also. So thank you, Steve Jokums, for breaking in with that. And and we see a couple non-believers there, and you can just go on to some other program if you want. We will not tolerate any of your silliness on there, please. All right, let's talk about 3 aces in space, all right? Another mission that was launched on June 5th, but in 1991, 12 years after the 1991 launch of STS-40 is STS-111. June 5th, 2002. The patch symbolizes the hardware, people, and partner nations contributing to the flight. Endeavour rises on the plume of the astronaut office symbol. Okay. Carrying the Canadian Mobile Base System for installation. The ISS orbit completes the astronaut office symbol and is colored red, white, and blue to represent the flags of the United States, Russia, France, and Costa Rica. The Earth background shows Italy in the blue Earth there, which contributes the multi-purpose logistics module used to resupply the ISS. And is that Leonardo or Columbia? Got to look that up here in just a minute in my notes. The 10 stars represent the 10 astronauts and cosmonauts on orbit during the flight. That's why you see all the crowded names there on this patch. And the star at the top represents the Johnson Space Center from which the flight is managed. The names of the STS-111 crew border the upper part of the patch, and the Expedition 5 and 4 crews' names form the bottom. Artist Mark Jacobs worked with the crew to design this artwork. And so you've got Perrin, Cockrell, Lockhart, and Chang Diaz are going to go up for the, how many days mission was this? 13 days. Oh, a very long mission, almost 14 days. They probably took with them the orbital extended rack in the back to give them more oxygen and fuel for the thrusters. Let's see, we got the picture of him there. Yes. There's Ken Cockrell on the left, Paul Lockhart on the right. This was Ken's 5th flight and his last. Paul Lockhart, his first of 2 flights, all right? And then you got Franklin Chang Diaz on the right, who we just talked about, the first Hispanic astronaut and physicist with some Asian background in his family tree. This was his 7th and last flight, which tied him with Jerry Ross for the most experienced flight-wise astronaut, not time-wise astronaut. And Philip Perrin, his only flight, and he's in there in the upper left there, and ESA astronaut. Philip was with the Canadian agency is what he was with. So going up was Peggy Whitson in the middle on her first flight. Imagine that. And 2 Russians. I'm not going to try to murder their names for you there. But this was her very first flight, and she is now in quarantine for her 5th flight to the International Space Station. Here's the whole crew above, the up and down crew. They're not showing, we don't have the picture of the 3 cosmonauts and Waltz, who was there. Those are the that came down. So it was actually 10 people on the International Space Station, which in 2002 I think was the most at that time. Yeah, they took Leonardo was the ESA the Italian contribution, Columbus was another one. They built a Raphael, but I don't think they ever flew it. And Columbia is a permanent fixture on the International Space Station as a storage unit now. So Peggy, we'll be seeing more pictures of you, but in 2002, this is what the International Space Station was viewed from Endeavour as it pulled away. What flight was that for Endeavour? I'm curious about that, and I haven't done this in a while. As you look at that neophyte International Space Station and what it looks like today, all right, try to figure out where those pieces and parts are. They're inside there. Let me look up 4 aces here and see on the fetching the scroll here. 111. There's 113. Was Endeavour's 18th mission. Wow. In that time there. So and see, it landed at Edwards Air Force Base there. So all right, so this was again a hard hat mission where Whitson performed a couple spacewalks. They used a shuttle robotic arm to take Leonardo out of the payload. 3 EVAs. Let's see. Well, I'm wrong. I don't think Whitson did any EVAs on this. Chang Diaz and Perron did 3 EVAs that I'm showing on my sheet here. So they did all the heavy work there, connecting cables. They took up one of the backbone pieces of the shuttle also. So quite a ambitious mission there in 2002 to get the International Space Station from here to here. Quite something, isn't it? Well, not to here, from here to there. There we go. Wow. And that artist rendering, but that's based on an actual photograph there. Probably some AI kind of stuff thrown in there. So Hope you've liked looking back at 2 shuttles in the month of June, and we'll check out several others as we roll along this 6th month of 2025. Bernard Harris on the left, who I enjoyed hanging out a little bit with over the weekend at the festivities by the Scholarship Foundation. And Peggy Whitson was inducted in remotely. She had taped a induction of her medallion, and there's a acrylic likeness of her and Bernard Harris going up in the astronaut hall. They're sponsored by Boeing at Kennedy Space Center Visitors Complex. So, but Bernard was really fun to talk to, very personable. He was glowing and basking in the limelight. Had his daughter with him and a whole bunch of family members there. It was quite a fun reunion of 3 days there. So, but we want to focus a little bit on Peggy. This was her first mission. She is 65 years old now. So in 2002, she was, she's going to think she was 42 years old, 43 years old, okay, when this picture was taken. And there she is with the glove box, one of the fixtures on the space station lab there, where and there she is with Pam Melroy, when Pam Melroy went up in STS-1 12 in October and met the commander of the international. Peggy Whitson was commander of the shuttle Atlantis that docked with the space station for about 11 days. And Whitson was the commander of the International Space Station, the first time the two space commanders occupied the same space, so to speak, okay, up there. So, okay, Steve Jokums, thank you for correcting me there. I shouldn't speak out loud. 4 missions for Raphael when I said there weren't any. So now you know in there. So this was quite a moment in 2002. And Peggy, known for being the elf on the shelf during Christmas of this mission when she was up there. Cute little play on one of the Christmas traditions that goes around. Let's get a little knowledge about Peggy Whitson there. A biochemist, and she, of course, now works for Axiom. Here she is on a spacewalk, all right? She has 10 extravehicular activities, 60 hours in space, and you know she's going to add to that. She could become the most experienced EVA men or women. She definitely has that for the women up there. And I think it might be 12, and I forget who holds that, but she is still the oldest woman to orbit the Earth in 2023 on her Axiom 1 command at the space station. When she joined, what expedition would that have been? Oh, she's up for expedition. I'll tell you about that in a second. But she will still be the oldest woman to fly in space at age 65. Think about that, all you 60-year-olds out there. You in shape to go up on the space station on a Crew Dragon and hang out for a month? All right. She did have, of course, the longest 289 days on the space station until Christina Cook eclipsed that at 328 days. Her Expedition 5 in 2002 is 184 days. There she is, an Axiom 1 astronaut. In Expedition 16, 5 years later, she went up. That's when she and Pam Melroy were together in 2007 on Expedition 16. And then she was part of Expedition 50, 51, and 52 when she came back in a previously vacant seat on a Soyuz space capsule. Okay. And so she has flown a shuttle, the Soyuz space capsule, and an Axiom. and only a handful of people can say that. It grows, number keeps growing, of course, with the Axiom Crew Dragon flights. Um, let's see. And she resigned from NASA in 2018, became a consultant for Axiom Space, and was the commander of Axiom Mission 2. Michael Lopez Allegra was the NASA astronaut who retired and was the Axiom 1 crew commander. Then he was commander of the third one. Now she's on the fourth one, and each one of them is the backup. They are the professional astronaut that are taking up rookies to figure out how Axiom's going to build a space station attached to the International Space Station and then break it off into a separate space station. And man, I want them to start building that, because we're going to talk in a minute about the International Space Station being deorbited and what that could look like if you haven't thought it through. But so she's very important in this whole queue there. And there's a beautiful picture of her, born on a farm outside of Beaconsfield, Iowa. Her family were hog farmers, all right? And she decided to become an astronaut after she watched the first moon landing on television as a child in 1969, and got a bachelor's degree at Mount Airy Community College in 1978. Then went to Iowa Wesleyan, then biochemistry in Rice University, and so done a lot of work on the biological and chemical sciences there. Biochemistry is her wheelhouse. So she was also the chief of the astronaut office in 2009, replacing Steve Lindsay. She was the first female and the first non-pilot to serve as chief astronaut. And then she resigned after 3 years of that. And twice she's been the commander of the International Space Station. So Peggy, we are fingers crossed that we get you up there and then of course back safely again. And I'll bet she can't wait to look out the cupola, like in this reflective, beautiful picture made of her. When an astronaut's up there, sometimes in their free time, I'll bet they just say, hey, you know what? I want a Life magazine. Well, you don't even know what that is anymore. I want a serious, professional looking, knock the socks off photo of me in outer space. And by golly, can't get more to knock your socks off than that, Marty, can you? Looking out the cupola and the big blue earth down there. So let's hope that everything goes right up there. As Peggy Whitson on her 3 missions up there, how many days total? 675 days. Okay, she spent in space, all but maybe 8 or 9. You're in space maybe 1 or 2 days. This would be her fourth out of 4 flights, 675 days. So she's probably spent about 670 days on the International Space Station. And she was up there before the cupola. And like I said, what a place to hang out up there. So look back. Thank you, Peggy, for all you've done. And maybe she'll go up into space in her 70s, Marty. But here's some International Space Station construction pictures as you've thought about, or have you, looking at this picture. Deorbit the space station in the 2030s, okay? What's all that going to involve? That's actually, I think, Nicole Stott, our friend hanging off the end there. And I know that's her on the left. But you forget about the hard work involved in the maintenance upkeep that has to be done on these spacewalks. So to deorbit the International Space Station, what does that all involve? Well, I asked that question to a panel of space flyers at the Scholarship Foundation, and Bob Cabana answered that for me. And Bob said, because my question was this: have you thought about some of these pieces and parts of the space station, like the Kibo laboratory? How about the Russian science lab? what is it, Nokia? Uh, Trying to think of the name. Steve, you can give me the name of the Russians, the new Russian science up there. That's less than 5 years old. All right, yeah, we know Zevda and Unity and have been up there for 25 years. But couldn't you break some of this apart, save the solar panels, and bring it all together? And I don't know if you've all thought like that, but the answer is no. And breaks my heart too, Steve, that the largest structure ever built in space will be dismissed so blatantly. But what Bob Cabana, who is on a committee, he's on a panel that looks every month with I forget which astronaut he's on it with, and they have Russian counterparts, and they look at the a monthly meeting about where the status of the International Space Station is. Excuse me. And he said, Mark, we have to deorbit it because none of these pieces and parts were designed to be taken apart and put anywhere else. That in fact, it would probably cost more money to send up the tools and the crews and so forth to take, for example, Kibo apart with this beautiful porch out there that's got an airlock that you can put stuff in and out and then bring it back in. I thought you could save that. And he said, not only can we not take it apart, but it must stay together to be deorbited properly, Marty. Meaning that they're actually going to they're going to keep a crew up there as long as they can, maybe just a day before they deorbit the thing. And they're going to even tilt the solar panels in a certain direction. Everything is going to be timed just right. For the weight distribution, the orientation is going to be maybe changed around a little bit. It normally points itself the node down to the earth by just the effect of gravity pulling on it. But it was fascinating to hear Cabana talk about how the deorbit has to be controlled and everything has to stay together. If one of the pieces would lop off prematurely, before the timeline they think it was, maybe it won't land in the Indian Ocean like they want to. Maybe it'll hit Africa. All right. So this is a lot of brainiacs working on deorbiting this thing, doggone it. And, aren't there other solutions than just ditching this magnificent space factory into the ocean? For example, why don't we just send a tug up there, Marty, to raise its orbit to 400 miles? Or 500 miles or 1,000 miles and keep it up there until technology can go up and save it. Or there was even some consideration of maybe moving it to a Lagrange orbit 1,000,000 miles away from the Earth and past the moon, where it would stay until inhabitants of Earth and spacefaring nations 100 years from now would like to visit it like an artifact from the American Civil War or from any other age that has artifacts that we want to investigate. Wouldn't this be valuable for other, to know how they did it, a civilization 100 years from now? And then also it could just be but some people, when I conjecture those type of ideas, think I'm crazy. So I might be crazy, but my ideas are all about preserving the International Space Station as long as we can. I don't understand why it can't be. There are some things really wearing out. Yes, it has air leaks in it. So does everything, basically, that goes to space. It's how they control them. Could there be a catastrophic air leak on this? Certainly so. What is more of risk is meteorites hitting it. As we know, we brought back and have micrometeorite shielding on it, but we also have panels out there that the astronauts occasionally retrieve. In there. Bruno, throw it into a solar orbit so we can look at it in our nighttime sky occasionally. And Steve Jokums, it does seem a lot short-sighted to just think that you're going to build something that takes so much energy, time, patience, ingenuity. I'll tell you what's one of the amazing things about the International Space Station is none of the parts were assembled on Earth, and many of the parts were built hundreds of miles away from each other, and they fit just perfectly once they got in space. Take, for example, the Columbia module that was attached to it, or Raphael, that went up 4 times, as Steve has pointed out there. So, but one other thing, you know, why hasn't the International Space Station been given the International Peace Prize, the Nobel Peace Prize I speak of? And though it has been nominated, I was just talking to our ESA friends today about that, and they pointed out, well, it's been nominated, but it didn't get too far because it is a physical entity and not a person. Well, my God, 250 people, persons, humans, maybe 300 humans from, I don't know, 13, 14 different companies have called it home and lived in harmony up there. And just as I say, we live in harmony in the world of space with people on the ground in ESA and those contributing countries, America, Canada, all doing what they can to make this work. Here on Earth, we continually have conflict where there are borders. So thank you all for watching today. Hope you enjoyed looking back at Peggy Whitson's bio a little bit there. 2 shuttles of the month. And again, on a sad note, we wish the family and the friends of Mark Garneau peace of mind. He died a short illness at age 76, seemingly young to me, for a very vibrant gentleman, so important to his country in paving their path to outer space, as well as becoming a political leader of Canada. So ad astra to you, Mark Garneau. And until tomorrow, when we're going to have an ESA representative, Luca, talking about training those astronauts, I'm Mark Marquette saying I can't wait to see you in our museum, of course, to bridge the space between us. Thank you so much.